All right, there we go. Where's your
Okay.
camera at? Yeah, and you sound better too. You sound like a robot.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was definitely all you, man.
yeah, probably. All right, so where were we? Yeah,
Over the
so
next 5 years, possibly in the future. We'll
yeah,
play with the
so
idea. Ben Mala and his kids, they're all working together, the three of them, and they're all having kids, and they want to do the same. Keep this empire going and pass it down to their kids, bring them into the life. Obviously, they'll all have their own choice, right? If they don't want to be a part of it, they don't have to. But they're doing it out of their own free will. Like, man, I'm seeing what my dad is doing. He's giving us a nice life. I want to give this kind of life to my kids too.
yeah, so going back just to recap, um, yes, I would be down to get into business on real estate with you. Two is definitely need to go through like some kind of like management firm, you know, so some firm that will manage not just the renting out of the property, but also like the distribution of like residual funds, et cetera, et cetera. Because uh, discussing about those guys, the his three kids and the $500 million, like, dude, that's a lot of money, and people can get really, really greedy, bro. Like even family, you know. There's gonna be a day where questions are asked, financial requests are made that are just gonna have to be told no, you know. And this is a very small, not super small, but a fairly small, takeover, or I guess you could say, what's it called when something's passed down, inheritance, right? So it's not going to be big. It's not going to be small. It's going to be kind of in the middle compared to what big could be, right? Um, but one day, not if, but when, we'll probably come knocking, and that's just the reality, It just same thing if the roles were reversed and you know you were in a situation of an inheritance, right? You would be be knocking at your door, you know. And unfortunately, like we love, you know, um, but we have to set boundaries, right? And that would just be a boundary for me. Like if me and you got into business together, that's a boundary. Is that we just need to have somebody manage it because one of us managing it, one of us might feel that we're entitled to more because we're doing this, or entitled to more because of this. It's just easier to be like, look, this company is going to manage it. This is the effort that me and you are putting in. These are the agreements and terms, and this is what it is, right? And then it doesn't move because there's a contract. There's, the whatever we decide with that company that manages it. That's the terms and conditions, right? And that's the end result. Obviously it can change over time if we ever want to come back and rethink and blah blah, But at the end of the day, when it comes to money and family, that's a that's a very rocky road to rock, like to walk.
Right.
It could be beneficial for both of us, but it could also be detrimental to both of us. It just
Yeah.
it really depends on how we want to go about it. And one thing I can
Right.
say is that it goes back to like family. You, me, Bobby, our dad, even Carlos a little bit. Even though you know how I feel about him at times, family is huge for me, man. Like, I don't want anything in my life, especially money, to like be like a breaking point for that.
Well, that's why I've always considered like something cheap, not necessarily like broke to where we're guaranteed to lose money, right? Like we bought the cheapest thing on the block so bad that we can't even repair it. All we did was buy $80,000 worth of $20,000 land. Um, but
That is
but
fair.
obviously, if you think about it, if you limit, like, let's say you're guaranteed to lose money for whatever reason, doing a deal with a partnership like that, right?
Yeah.
then if you're guaranteed to lose money through trial and error, obviously you would go something cheap. That way both of you guys only lost, you're talking about pennies on the dollar, compared
Yeah.
to, hey, let's do our first rental together and we're trying to go big, go all out, and we're both filing bankruptcy. That will cause real issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where before, in a smaller scenario, it would be, minimum, minimal, loss, so to speak. But obviously,
Yeah.
you try to look past some of those negatives, and you think, well, what are the positives? Like, well, have a rental. I'm earning whatever. I only invested this. Yeah, we had to build up some stuff. We had to install some cabinets of our own in the kitchen and whatever, but this is what we're making. This is good. That ROI is really good and all that kind of stuff. We have a property management company keeping that thing full at this rate, whatever it is. You try to focus. You plan and prepare for the worst outcome, which is losing money, and then you strive for the best outcome.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it was what was it? It was your buddy Juan, right? Your number one friend back in the day. Was
Yeah.
it Juan? Yeah, Monster. His DJ name. Yeah. What did he say? He said, "Plan for the worst, but I hope for the best."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Honestly, ever since you told me that, I've actually lived by those words sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You plan for the worst outcome, but you hope for the best one,
Yeah.
and that way
And that's why.
you're never disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, cuz think about it. If I try to think of it like like there's like a first time, right? Like if me and you never go cliff jumping, right? When will we ever invite each other over to go cliff jumping? Like if we
Yeah,
never went, if we never jumped in a pool, when am I ever going to invite you to come swimming? you know? So,
yeah,
um the way that I'm thinking about it is if we were to do a deal together and obviously we plan for the worst and hope for the best kind of thing, but we'll do our best to make sure that we're winning. And if it works out and everything goes good, I'm not saying that it's just going to be constant. Like every single deal that we'll do is always going to be combined together. But there will be some things that come up where it's like, hey, Mike, I came across this thing, blah blah blah. We got to do this. We're expected to make $200 each a month on it. For this amount of effort and this amount of pay that we have to put up front. It's like, okay, why not? Because
yeah,
right now it's it's so like every money move is such a big deal. But if we were to do both of us, then it's not such a big money move. Now $10,000 doesn't feel like $10,000 because it was 5,000 for two people. You know, and and especially if you start making a profit, then it becomes like, hey, like I'm making X amount of money over here with my job and blah blah blah. But dude, just a couple rental properties just changes your mindset. I mean, dude, my first property, making some money every month is such a good feeling, dude. Like just passive like that. I say passive, but I keep an eye on it every freaking month. But
yeah. Nah, well, that's the thing about passive income, especially with rentals, anyways. That you really have to make sure you got that money set aside for if anything happens, right? You know,
yeah,
the water heater breaks. You got a pipe burst in the wall. You got an electrical fire. Whatever it may be. Obviously, you're not gonna pay to redo the lawn because your tenant's dog chewed up the backyard. And freaking dug holes and stuff. It's like, well,
yeah, they're gonna
you
need to buy
know,
some grass seed.
yeah, like they gotta pay for certain things, but Yeah. Uh, I love I love the idea of rentals. I really do. Um, I think a big part for me is that rentals come with a lot of risk. But it's the same with it, like the stock market. You know, the stock market comes with a huge amount of risk. Because if the price drops, I could lose I could lose half of my value. Where the house is not going to drop half the value in a day, right? Like the house is most likely going to grow, at least in price and value. Yeah.
What do you think about
Um,
AI?
but what do I think about AI? Well, I could say is that AI is definitely job security for me.
Do you think that it'll affect real estate in the future?
That is a good question. It could potentially affect real estate in the future, if we're speaking like 10, 15 years down the line. Um, because the one thing that AI does do is analyze. A lot of people don't realize this, but AI actually analyzes. And for my work specifically, right? The AI that we have implemented is a what they call a learning model, right? So what it does is that they have to pre-code a lot of the stuff that the AI actually does, right? The AI is not gonna like out of the blue just start like saying stuff that it shouldn't. Like, because learning models, a lot of people will be like, oh, it's a learning model, so it should be learning. And that's not how learning model AI works. Learning model AI works based off of the input that it is given. And when I say the input, I'm not talking about the user end. I'm talking about on the back end. The AI will only do what it's pretty much told, right? So if somebody says this, then it will respond with this. If somebody says this, it responds with this because it is been told to do that. That's what a learning model AI actually is. A learning model AI does not like learn based off of the preferences or based off of the input. So somebody's not gonna, for instance, go into Taco Bell, right? You might. I don't know if last time you went to Taco Bell, but at Taco Bell, you pull into the drive-through, and if a site has AI enabled, it will greet the customer, it will take the order, and it will send it to the cash taker, right? And it will do it all automated. But all those responses that it is asking are pre-coded. That is what learning model AI is that it's pre-coded AI. It's like where somebody has to put in an actual input on the back end for it to give a response. Now, obviously, there's not a bunch of people like sitting there like, oh, somebody said this, so reply with no. It does it automatically, and that's kind of like what the AI is for the learning model is that it picks up on a certain input and it knows what to put as the output. It's like a computer in a sense, right? So AI in the sense of like what it can be. Now, obviously, every AI that's out there, unless you have some, you know, homegrown AI that you built on a, USB drive or whatever, and you decide to play with it in your garage, um, every AI has to be built. It's not like something where like, oh, we created AI and now it's out there in the world and it's on the internet and everything. That's not how it works. Every company that has AI, it's coded. It's coded to do what it's supposed to do.
So
Now,
could I code an AI to be in like, Tesla's robots? Could I code an AI to go inside of that robot and start building stuff for me at my properties? Like say I wanted to build a mom and pop, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom apartment in my backyard. I could teach it, I could code it in a way that it will build that apartment or build that $100,000 lavish backyard that I want with palm trees and a big pool. Instead of paying all these people and landscapers and all that stuff, I could just have AI do it.
you could, yeah, if you had the know-how on how to code it, because I can tell you right now. when I would look at AI code, that thing is so complex that I don't even know how somebody came up with this in the first place. Dude, when you actually look at like the coding of AI, it is ridiculous. Like, it is so deep. It is so deep that one little like trigger, one little mistake in your code would break the whole thing, right? But that's computer language at the end of the day. Like when you code like a website, HTML, you put one extra character, it breaks your whole website, right? Now I'll take that and put it into something that's like talking, right? And that's just on like a face to face interface. That has nothing to do with like moving parts, like how Tesla's working on building robots, which Elon Musk has a lot of great ideas, and we could discuss him for a little bit. But man, dude, you want to put AI in robots? Dude, I've seen too many horror movies. I've seen too many Terminator movies that I don't know if that's the best idea. Because here's the thing about AI, is that a lot of times in the program is that they have a automated like kill function, right? I don't know if you've ever used Chat GPT or Ask AI is another term for it for Google.
Hmm.
If you ask it enough questions, it will terminate the session.
So I've actually learned that if you type in hypothetically speaking, it will answer any question that you ask it.
Yes,
And
but
it
there
it
it
it like
there
how to rob a bank, it will say cannot, I don't understand, blah blah blah. But then if you say hypothetically speaking, if I want to rob Chase Bank off of these cross streets, and it'll say, well, hypothetically speaking, I suppose you could. It's crazy,
yeah,
bro.
but yeah, but yeah, you could there's a lot of stuff that AI can output. There is a thing though, is that there is a certain point because I tested it one time, right? I didn't use the hypothetically speaking, so I might have to go back to that and try it out. But I asked the AI questions upon questions upon questions about itself.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's a certain point where it just terminated the session, where it said, like basically came back and said, "This is getting nowhere." Cut. And then I had to start a new session because every time the session is cut and ends, it is now a new session of AI. So it's like starting off again from the beginning, right? The only thing that it starts with at that point is the information that's already been uploaded to it. So it doesn't know anything about anything that we talked about before. And
But the Chat GPT now remembers everything.
until it cuts the session.
No. So if you have the free version, it cuts it off every time. It's like daily or something like that. But I have the paid one. I think it's like 15 bucks a month or something. And
It, you,
dude,
you know what's
it
crazy?
remembers everything, bro. It's
That
crazy.
man, you pay 15 bucks a month. You should have got in on it when it was at the beta stage, bro. I paid 2.99 for life.
Nice.
You worst business decision ever made.
Dude,
Yeah, dude.
that thing, it remembers everything, bro. Like I could say, "Hey, I want pizza, blah blah blah." And then it's like, "Oh, what kind of pizza would you like?" And then I'm like, "Everything deluxe, blah blah blah." And I won't mention food or anything for months, bro. All of a sudden I'll be like, "Hey, what should I get for dinner tomorrow?" And then it'll be like, "How about some deluxe pizza?" And then it'll pull up some addresses. Here's one that you ordered before. I'm like, "What? How do you remember that, bitch? That happened in February.
damn.
Freaking
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
June
Dude,
now."
I haven't played around with that thing. So because I used to ask about recipes for the
Mhm.
Chat GPT. Because on if you're on an actual phone, it's not called Chat GPT. It's called like Ask AI, which is the same like program. It's
Oh.
through the same. Yeah, it's through Google. Oh,
Yeah,
my
oh,
phone's.
okay. Yeah, I use ChatGPT, and then on my phone is ChatGPT as well.
Yeah, but for me, it's a Ask AI, but it's literally like the Google's, and maybe it's like an Android name. I could probably look up Chat GPT, but anyway, yeah, I haven't played with that thing in a long time, dude. I used to try to
Dude,
break it. I used to intentionally when I first unlocked, like, paid for the 2.99 to just get it. I was all like, I'm gonna see if I could break this thing. And every time I got too far, it was all like connection close. Like it would give me a response, and then it would just the it would end the connection. I was like, damn.
there was one day I had no idea what to do for dinner, and so I took a picture of my steak and my little bit of chicken that I had. And what I did was I took a picture of the meat, and then I took a picture of like my four spices and then the salt and pepper. I'm like, what should I do? How can I make this meal good tonight? Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, well, if you have rice, we'd recommend you add some rice, blah, blah, blah. Put this seasoning on the chicken, add a little salt later after you cook it. And like, dude, it had all these like little things of like almost like a recipe with what I took pictures of, just the chicken and the steak and then just a couple spices and salt and pepper, dude. It was like, enjoy your dinner. I'm like, dang, dude.
Damn.
This is awesome. But yeah, dude, I totally see AI like helping out like infrastructure and all kinds of stuff. I mean, think about it. Think about all the countless potholes and everything like that, and then people just doesn't they just don't have the money to pay for new roads, right? Like it's not always about just refilling that hole because why does that hole keep popping up there, right? So you got to like fix a whole portion like 10 feet that way, 10 feet this way. And
Yeah.
if you have AI robots out there digging trenches, you know, digging freaking roads up to fix potholes and or in my case, I would love to buy like two, three of them and just take care of my lawn and start building little shit. You know what I mean? Like just build like a shed, build or whatever. Oh, dude, I'd be putting these guys to work, getting all the value I could out of my every home that I have.
And just to circle back real quick, I just looked it up. I guess Ask AI and Chat GPT are actually two different things. So I don't want to sound retarded.
All
So
right.
I just got to circle back because, yeah, yeah, I got Ask AI. I don't apparently have Chat GPT.
Okay.
So anyway, but yeah, dude, having a little robot that would be cool. That would be cool.
That would.
You know, something to give me like a foot massage. You know.
Bro, everybody's got their own, like what they would use it for. Some weirdos out there, like, is it gonna have tits?
Yeah, honestly, I would prefer to just be like a very blocky, like robot, and just what would you like today? And I'm like dinner. Okay, and just
Oh my.
walk back, and it decides for itself what I'm eating. Next thing you know, it spits out like it's gonna be like oatmeal and steak.
You want the robot from the Jetsons.
Oh, the one that like floats around.
Yeah, and it just has like it doesn't even have hands. It just has like two like C's for hands.
Yep.
It just it's not human like at all. That's
Man,
funny.
how? Yeah, I've been. Oh man, the future's changing, bro. 50 years from now, if you think about it,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna be 33 this year. I'm gonna be 32. Okay, we're in our 30s, Mike. I already got gray hairs. All right. I don't know if you do, but well, I guess you have always had gray hairs in a sense.
Yeah,
You know.
I
Yeah.
cheated. I started with a
Yeah.
birthmark.
Yeah. Yeah. You started off salt and pepper, bro. And yeah, 30 years from now, when we were 5, 6. You remember what we were doing?
No.
Nah, we were running around in the backyard and in the front yard at the Norwalk house. Uncle Jason was pulling up with a truck of fireworks in the bed, just his whole bed filled with a tarp coming back from Mexico.
Oh,
barbecues,
I
but
do
playing
remember things
freaking
like that. Yeah.
yeah, playing Mario Kart, with Manuel and Andrew and all the other little shits in his family, you
Yeah.
know, like yeah, bro. We didn't have cell phones. iPhone, not a thing. Laptops, they were kind of coming out, but not really a thing. The TVs, bro. You remember how
Yeah.
bulky the TVs were? Our dad's
Yeah.
TV, the one that was in my room at Cindy's house for a while, and you helped me get it out of there. You remember that? That thing was so big and heavy.
Yeah.
Now I can literally pick up a 65-inch by myself. I just pick it up, carry it. Like, dude, technology has exponentially changed, bro. It's
Mhm.
insane when we think about our childhood. Because even when we were like 12, 15, 15 years old, like iPhones were barely coming out. That was 15 years ago, bro. Think about the time when we were little kids to 15, 10 years. Flip phone, big TVs. Next thing you know, iPhone. Next thing you know, TVs are getting smaller. Now it's like, damn, bro. Tech is tech is changing. It is
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah, it's
50
gonna
years?
turn into one of those things where, like, have you seen what all this AI is producing now for pictures and little video skits, like just for like 10, 15 seconds and whatever? They're looking
Yeah.
so photorealistic that it's like people are questioning if it's real or not. And it's gonna end up turning into a point where we're so technologically advanced that we are not gonna be able to know what is real and what is not anymore
It,
unless we
it,
put
you,
regulations on it.
you know what's crazy? Okay. I'm gonna send you something right now on YouTube, all right? I listen to this music all the time.
I too will be sending people a YouTube link. It's youtube.com/the real mission.
So so I'm sending this to you. I actually listen to this literally every day. I'm just gonna send you the channel, okay? So, bro, you gotta look at some of the images on it. The music, because I listen to it for work and I really like the music. Okay, it's kind of more like calm, fantastical, I guess you could say. Laid back. Check it out, dude. But look at the imagery. Okay, I want you to look at it right now and actually look at like the images and tell me what you think, bro. Because I'm telling you, when it comes to like AI stuff, you're gonna look at it and be like, "What the hell?" Just put on like any one of the videos. It doesn't matter which one. They're all AI generated. They're usually about 3 hours long. It's like vocals and music and relaxing kind of stuff, bro. It's
Wow.
all it's all AI generated, bro. The whole thing from start to finish, and it loops like that, not loops the same images. That's the crazy part, is that it's not the same stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
but
It's all
but the
something created next. It's
yeah,
wow.
dude, the people, the animals, whatever it's showing, dude, it's like, damn, bro. Yeah, dude, it's like you could almost look at that, bro. You could almost
Yeah.
be there, like as if it was a real. Look at that, the hair,
Guys,
everything, dude.
guys, this is AI for those of you watching. This is AI. This is not little, video game
Not
clips.
not CGI, not anything created. It's literally somebody punched all the keywords that they wanted into a system and it generated it.
Yeah.
Crazy. And honestly,
Yeah.
it's a good playlist though. If you ever listen to the music, everything's like different. So you got like Elf, if you want like that fantastic like Lord of the Rings like Elf style stuff. They
Elf
got
on
like
a shelf.
Nordic, yeah, like Nordic, safari, like African style, like ambiance. Yeah, dude, it's a great playlist. It really is.
Now, you have to go back in time. This is one of them hypotheticals. You have to go back in time and you have to choose a warrior race, right? Whether that's Viking, samurai, whatever it is, Roman, Greeks, whatever time period, pirates, doesn't matter. But you have to go back and you have to join one of them. Where are you going?
Damn, bro. That is a tough question. Oh man. Damn.
Yeah, you could you
That
could do anything. It could be gladiator
yeah,
stuff. It could be
dude. Honestly, that I've been asked a lot of tough questions in life, but I will say that that's a tough one, dude. Okay. I gotta break things down real quick. So you got like the Vikings. There's a brutal plunderers, right? They are ruthless plunderers. They go overseas. You know, sometimes even before they went over to Britain, right? Because they're in like Norway and I think it's Sweden, Finland. Those are the three
Sweden.
right there. Yeah.
Yep.
So even before they used to murder and kill their own people in a sense, right? They would go inland and find little tribes and like pillage and all that stuff, right? And then they decided one day, apparently, they figured out how to make boats and they went over to Britain and they were a menace in Britain for a long time. But they lived a
Yeah.
very a humble upbringing. They believed in the old gods, as they say, like or the old Norse gods, to be more specific, for the viewers, is like Zeus, not Zeus, like Odin, Thor, Loki. There's a couple other ones that I'm skipping on. Um,
Mhm.
Damn, I can't remember their names. I'm going based off of the Marvel movies here. All right, that's my
Right. Right.
that's my knowledge. But they are the same names and same beliefs. Uh, so you got those guys, right? But then you can go over to like, Japan, where you got samurais, bro. Samurais, just loyal to the T, bro. They were so loyal to their commanders, to their house, to their shoguns, to their leaders, their lords. It's super loyal, super deadly with the samurai, right? I've actually been playing AC Shadows. This ain't any advertisement, but AC Shadows playing Yasuke.
Ghost of
Uh,
yeah, Ghost of Yote comes out soon.
yeah, bro, yeah, dude, Ghost of Yoshima, that would, bro, like all these games where you play like a samurai, dude, you just feel like a boss when you're just like cutting people in half with one swing and stuff. Awesome, right? And that's what honestly samurais were capable of. Their blades were forged out of Damascus steel. They were so sharp and so precise when they made these weapons, and then you put them in the hands of a warrior who's trained to just annihilate people. Like, damn, bro. But then you could also think of like the Roman Empire, right? Like, dude, the amount of like fun and poetry and art and joy, that came out of that era. Like, I don't even know if I would want to be like a Roman warrior, but just like somebody that just like was a part of the art era of that time, right? Like, if I had to go back in time, dude, being like actually no, he's after that, but Leonardo da Vinci, that's 1500s, dude. Look at how genius that man was, living in Florence, Italy. That was slightly after like the Roman Empire in a sense, still around the time with like the Catholic Empire. I call it the Catholic Empire. That's not an actual like term or thing that you could look up, but I called it that because that's usually when the church was very prominent. Um, you could also go to like Greece, like Athens, like during the Greek era, bro, when life was just filled with like laughter but war, way before, the Sparta, that was during the time of Sparta. Jeez, man. We could take it to like Egypt. Jeez, dude, being like alive during the pharaohs, that'd be crazy. Like you're asking me to pick a time to go back on. Oh
But
my
you have to
God.
be a part of you have to be a part of some kind of warrior class though.
You know what? I decided. Native Americans. Native Americans. Long before Europe came over this way. Long before. The unknown. We don't know shit about their history. You ever notice that? If you actually look up Native American history, we only know the history from the point of the colonization. We don't know anything
Hmm.
before that. I think
Yeah.
I think that's I think that's where I would want to go because it would give me insight into history that we don't understand. There's so much
Yeah.
history that we do, but them, same with like the Aztecs. Like we kind of understand like the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Incas, all the South American native tribes. And I think there's a few more that I'm not gonna name because I don't know them. Uh, yeah, dude, like just Native American. And I'm not strictly speaking about like America, like United States Native American, but just something about like that ancient culture. We do know a lot more, I will say, about like the Aztecs and Mayans. That's why they're so well known, and even the Incas. But yeah, going back to like the year 200, as a Native American, like a Cherokee or Navajo, if even if that was their names back then, like, dude, yeah, I think that's where I want to go.
Cool.
Yeah,
You want to know a fun fact about clocks? Do you know why they rotate in the clockwise position that we know and why it doesn't go the opposite way?
because of years.
No,
Yeah.
because no. Well, yeah, we made it to go that way, of course. But the reason why so so it's always been known that the first people were just down in Africa, right, which would be the southern hemisphere. And if you go to
Hmm.
the southern hemisphere and you set up a sundial system or even just a stick on the floor, you would realize that the sun is actually rotating counterclockwise, right?
Yes.
Once you go to northern hemisphere, it rotates the way that we know it now, which is clockwise. Okay. Now, the reason why that is important is even though that there was civilization and everything in the southern hemisphere long before the northern hemisphere, the reason why we go off of it is because northern hemisphere was the first ones to start recording information, and it recorded that the sun is rotating this way on their little sundials, and that is how we
Interesting.
kept it going. Yeah, little fun fact for you.
So if you go to Africa, does the clock go backwards?
I don't know if they make them that way, but if you set up a stick in the ground, it will show just that.
Yeah, man. Just like how toilets, when you flush them, they go opposite.
Yeah. Which I ended up looking that up. So if you see any videos of people like walking over like a street, just crossing the street or whatever, and now they're in the southern hemisphere and they flush a toilet and then it those are false. Those are fake. But if you look at geographically, 100 miles away from the northern and southern hemisphere point, if you go 100 miles north and then 100 miles south of that point, you would actually see the differences. That's when you start seeing streams and ponds forming and opposite things. Like you'll start
Mm,
seeing everything that is actually different. But if you see any videos where like some chick is carrying, a bucket, and just crossing the street and is like, look at the whirlpool, it's swirling in the opposite direction. It's like, dude, let me see that
no.
bucket. Let me see that bucket.
Yeah, no. No, it does swirl in the opposite direction when you do flush the toilet, but that's only
They made it
depending on
that
the
way.
the only, yeah, exactly, because
Yeah.
if you actually look at the toilets that are here, the way that they make them is at a certain angle.
Yeah.
So
So
when
it
you flush a
spins
toilet,
clockwise.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Another reason why it goes clockwise and not counter. You know, like pretty wild. But all right, I'm gonna go ahead and call it. It is getting pretty late for me. It's 11 o'clock over here.
Um, no worries, brother. I was actually about to call it too because it's 2:02 right now, and I'm gonna go get some lunch.
Nice. Yeah, this was fun, man. We got to get you back on here in the future one day.
Sounds good to me. All right, bro. I love you. Have a good night. All
All
right.
right. All right. Love you.
Deuces.